to do take 2 now. So here we go. Well, welcome everybody. I am Gustavo Tolosa and I am the webinar host for Chef AJ tonight. You may have seen me before hosting the webinars for Dr. McDougall every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And I am very excited to be here today in LA, broadcasting live to all of you. And tonight, Chef AJ is going to make 10 recipes, and they're going to, of course, to be amazing. What I was saying earlier is that to bring this to you, this webinar that is about an hour and a half, it takes 20, 25, 30 hours in preparation. So it is a lot of work, and because of that, it's not possible to give you all the recipes and all the things that you would like to have. But we have extended the replay of the video to 2 weeks so that you can watch the replay, which will be available in about 24 hours. And you can watch it over and over, jot down some of the tips that Chef AJ is going to give you, jot down the procedure, the actual recipe. And I know that Chef AJ is compiling the recipes, and at some point they will be printed and available to you. But for now, just know that you will have the replay available and you will have plenty of time. And if for some reason you don't, just let me know at the email that you have and we'll fix it. So make sure that you turn off other internet connections, that you turn on the volume in your computer or you will not hear. Now our system is working and there should be sound. Please let us know if you can hear what we're saying. Yes? Yes, sound. If you can hear me, please type yes. If not, type no. That way I will know. Let's see, I'm watching your live chat here. I'm looking for yeses to make sure that the sound is working. Okay, thank you so much. We just don't want to get started unless everything is working fine. Very good. Chef AJ, join us tonight. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. This is Bailey. I wanted to introduce her before we get started. Isn't she cute? Say hi, Bailey. Bailey was adopted on July 1st at the age of 4 from the shelter. And I just want to encourage everyone, please don't breed or buy while homeless animals die, because every dog bred is a shelter animal dead. So please adopt. Bailey's going to say goodbye for now. And thanks so much for being here. It's Thursday night. We're live. We're in LA. We're in my kitchen. We're going to make 10 amazing recipes. So let's get started. We want to try to get done in 90 minutes so you East Coasters can get to bed by 11. So here we go.
Very good. If you have any questions or any comments, type them. I will try to keep track of your comments. And if you have any questions for Chef AJ, I will pass them on to her. So here we go. We're going to move the camera a little. Just know that this is a...
I washed my hands after petting the dog. Don't worry, they're clean. Don't worry, you're not going to eat them anyway. So these recipes don't appear anywhere, books or blogs. They're from my upcoming book, and I tested them on regular and these are the best no bean burgers. So why make a bean burger without beans? I'm going to explain why in a minute, but first I want to show you how. Did a lot of the prep in advance. Can I talk louder? Of course I can talk louder. So why are we doing a no bean burger? I'm going to explain it to you, but I want to get the recipe started. And I did a lot of the prep in advance, which you can do, because if you're going to eat healthy, if you fail to plan, plan to fail. So always do your prep in advance. So one of the things I do, and we're going to be using both Instant Pots today. What's great about the Instant Pot is it replaces 7 appliances. You don't need your slow cooker. You don't need your rice cooker. And you can do everything in it. Whenever I cook rice, which is often, I love doing batch cooking, I cook enough to have many leftovers for recipes. So I know that this recipe contains 4 cups of rice. So when I make an Instant Pot full of rice, I immediately take 4 cups and I freeze it because I know I'm going to make this recipe often. I'm using black rice, and I'm going to explain why. It's very important in this recipe, but rice, grains in general, and beans all freeze great. So in this bowl, I'm dumping in my pre-measured.
I'll just remind you to keep talking loud.
Keep talking louder. I'm dumping in. Oh, you can't have both. It's either going to be loud and fast or slow. Okay, I'll do my best. So there it is, 4 cups of black rice. The black rice is the forbidden rice, and you can get it at just about any store these days. It's excellent. And 4 cups of sweet potatoes. Now, again, when I cook potatoes, I cook several trays because I'm going to be eating potatoes every day, all week. And I cook all the different kinds, the Japanese, the regular, the Hana, the Stokes, the Hawaiian when I have them. So I'm pretty good at estimating how big of a potato I need to get 4 cups. And so usually 2 of the largest ones will be 4 cups. And these are the Hana ones. I like this better in this recipe. I don't like the super sweet Japanese or the orange ones. I like the starchier Hana ones for this recipe. So 4 cups of sweet potatoes. And how you cook it is up to you. When you roast it, they're sweeter. You don't necessarily need sweetness in this recipe, but for eating, that's how I prefer it. But I mean, I'm not afraid to use a microwave or even steam them, so it doesn't matter. You just want them nice and soft. Now, traditional yeast. If you don't want to use this, I've omitted it when I haven't had it. Some people don't like it. That's fine. But if you like it, 12 tablespoons, dump them right in. Now, what I do for every recipe, this says BB, bean burger, even though there's no beans in this, I measure all my spices in advance. I know I'm going to be making the same recipes every week, day in, day out. People don't eat 30 different breakfasts, lunches, or dinners. So red lentil chili, portobello mushroom chili, the things I make every week, split pea soup. 3 months out, I take 12 of these jars. They're spice jars. When the label it comes off in the dishwasher after the spices are done, I fill them up, put them on a label. You can buy them for 69 cents at Bed Bath & Beyond. That way, when I get home from work, I don't have to measure. I know what goes in here. In this case, it's 4 tablespoons of salt-free chili powder. I like the Whole Foods brand. You can get Penzeys, whatever you like. 1 tablespoon of cumin. Get it roasted if you can. 1 tablespoon of my very favorite spice, which is smoked paprika, and a teaspoon of chipotle powder. And you just dump it all in, just like that. And now the vegetables. Now, I did saute these in advance, but that's okay because I'm going to teach you how to saute without onion on another recipe in this live cooking party, but I needed to get these in the oven. That's why I did it in advance. And so what this is, I took 1 can, 14.5 ounces of the fire roasted tomatoes from Muir Glen in the BPA-free can. I drained the liquid and I sauteed 1 large red onion in the liquid until it was translucent. Then I added up a finely chopped carrot, a finely chopped red bell pepper, and 1 bunch of cilantro, and 8 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. And I sauteed it, didn't need any oil. I'm gonna add that to the mixture. And then I'm gonna put on some food service gloves because I really wanna get this really well incorporated. Now, this is similar, those of you that are in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program that have the 21-day recipe guide, to the Chipotle bean burgers, which everyone says is the best bean burger they've ever had. The only difference is it doesn't have beans. So what that means is instead of serving 24, it's going to make only 12, because if it had those 4 cans of beans, that would be the difference in the volume. So why do I make a bean burger without beans? I'll tell you why. Because I have a lot of requests for people for bean-free recipes. Now, beans are amazing. They're a resistant starch. They're great for people that are diabetics, that are trying to lose weight. They're full of protein and they're wonderful. But believe it or not, there's people that can't eat them. And the more I'm involved in the health community, the more people I'm meeting that can't eat beans. A lot of people have different gastrointestinal problems. For example, people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, people with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, people with Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all these different GI problems, things like having had their colon removed or part of their colon removed. A lot of people are on what's called a low FODMAP diet that their doctors have put them on, and they can't eat any beans, split peas, lentils, legumes. And so I've been getting a lot of requests for these bean-free recipes. Some people just don't tolerate them for whatever reason and don't feel like you have to eat. There's no one food that is a superfood. It's the totality of your diet that matters. And don't let people say that you have to have these, 3 or 5 or 12 foods every day. That's not true. You just need to eat a wide variety of colorful plant food. So
3 people wrote me because they actually have an anaphylactic allergy to legumes. They were born that way. They have to carry an EpiPen. So I wanted to create something that these people could eat. So I thought, oh, I'll just take the beans out of my bean burger. Well, it tasted okay, but unfortunately, because I'm usually using brown rice, because that's what I always have left over, it didn't really look much like a bean burger. So then I thought about, well, the bean burger is black and it looks sort of like a real burger. So why don't I just try black rice? And it worked great. And people, I don't know if you're watching Shada, because Shada helped me make these at True North. There really isn't much difference in taste, honestly, from this and the regular bean burger version. It certainly looks exactly the same, so you don't have to worry about that. And these freeze well. I'm not one to freeze a lot of entrees, but I travel a lot, and these freeze so well that even frozen and microwave, they taste as good as when they come out of the oven, and my husband gets to eat them. So these are great. I'm just making sure they're really, really well incorporated. Get the kids involved, you know, play with your hands. If you have time, I recommend chilling the batter a little bit. You could even do it overnight, but we aren't able to do that right now, but it's still gonna work. My oven has been preheated to 400. One of the things I recommend is get an oven thermometer. You'll see when I open the oven that I have one. They're like $10 at any hardware store, because a lot of people say, well, I made your recipe and it didn't come out. And the first thing I say is, did you have your oven calibrated? And they'll say, no. I was an apartment manager for years, and when we would get the oven out of the box, I would calibrate it. And in brand new ovens, you put it on 300 and it really was 250. So, you know, having been an executive pastry chef at a restaurant, there's always a thermometer in a commercial oven. So I recommend you get one there. Okay, so this is good, or at least as good as it's going to get for now. So I'm going to take my gloves off. Make sure that if you're cooking for other people and you don't know what their allergies are, use latex-free gloves. Okay, so now baking pan. Here's my baking pan. This is a standard cookie sheet baking pan. I like to use a Silpat. You can see how old this is. It's about 20 years old. This is a knockoff brand. I actually have a real Silpat too. I can show you. You can get these now at Costco and online, Bed Bath & Beyond. This was a giant one, which I actually cut to fit this pan. This way, out of respect for the environment, I don't have to keep using a piece of parchment paper every single time. And really nothing sticks to these. And yes, they get a little dirty. You clean them up. It's not a big deal. I have a ½ cup measure. This should make 12 cups. So I just measure out a ½ cup, plop it down, and I kind of just, you know, I've done this before, so I just sort of use my hands. I mean, some people like to use a burger press. You can certainly do this, but 12 of these should fit nicely on the tray. Now, what you can do is you can also make sliders. Shada loves to make sliders, and the advantage of sliders is it's going to cook faster, but I want you to get the full burger experience, so we're going to make the full-size ones. You could also make these into meatballs. This is a great template. You know, the thing about my recipes is I like them to be, baking recipes are different. I recommend that you follow them exactly as written. But recipes that are cooked, you know, use your own imagination. If you don't like the spices that I put in them, put in your own. I make an Italian version of this burger. And instead of putting in all the Mexican spices, I keep the garlic, of course, and the onion and all the vegetables. I put in dried basil, oregano, thyme, rosemary. I put in fresh basil, sun-dried tomatoes. And then I roll these into little meatballs, and I serve it with the zucchini pasta. If you watch, Gustavo and I did a free webinar. You can still access that. You'll get lots of recipes there. And Wendy Solganic from Healthy Girls Kitchen and I did one where we actually made the spiralized zoodles with the marinara. And now when I do that, I make Italian meatballs to go with it. And they're fantastic. So, you know, I wish you could feel what I could feel, because it's a texture. Do you want to feel this? Can you explain the texture? Just touch it. Like, how would you explain that texture if you were like a boob? No, no, I mean, it's, you know, it's just like, you can see that it's not sticking to my hand, but it's, you know.
I don't know. It's soft, but it's also firm. Yeah.
Like a boob, you know, like a woman's breast. So there we go. We'll do a 12. And here, you want to make these in advance, obviously. I mean, in advance of eating them. We could eat them tonight. But this is not a recipe where you get home at 7 o'clock and make. You have to think about this, which is why it's always great. Like when you cook beans, when you cook rice, know what's in the recipe and then freeze them in those containers.
I know that some of you were asking if I could put the camera down. But if I do, then all you're going to see is one angle forever, and you won't be able to see when I get closer and show you different things. So I'm trying to be as still as possible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, We're doing our best. Now, I forgot to buy the lettuce because the way I serve these, well, there's a couple ways. I love to serve them on potato waffles. And if you watched the free webinar I did with Gustavo a few months ago, we showed you how to make these potato waffles. We use those as buns. You can also get the potato waffle recipe by Sandy Plewis at Vegans Eat Yummy Food. But our favorite way to eat these is to buy, I think it's called bib lettuce. It's the kind that's actually connected to the little piece of dirt. And then people use these as their bun. And then we just put out all the fixings. So we put out mustard and ketchup, and you can get salt-free ketchups and mustard, definitely sugar-free ketchup, not salt-free. You can make your own, and I'll tell you a recipe that I have and a recipe that I like. And let's see what else. Some people like barbecue sauce. I like red onion, thinly sliced, and tomatoes on my burger. Charles likes pickles on his. Some people jalapenos. Sometimes people like that, those non-dairy cheese sauce on this. So it's really whatever you like. And I'm telling you, I have served these to regular people, regular meat-eating people, and they love it. So this made a little bit more than 12. So what I'm going to do is, you could, I don't see why you couldn't bake this into a loaf, but they're just so fun as burgers. There we go. And I could have kept my gloves on for that. So I had a little bit left, so I'm just not going to worry about that right now. We have
just also another word about technology. If at any point you're having trouble with the sound or the image, it may be the difference in speed at your own home. Remember that we're transmitting at a speed. That doesn't mean that you're getting it at the same speed. So sometimes you have to log out and log back in, and then it is better. Remember to turn off other things that are using internet so that your internet connection is as fast as possible. Okay.
So here we have 12 absolutely beautiful no-bean bean burgers, and they're going in the oven right now. That's been preheated to 400. Can you show them that I have a little oven thermometer right here, and I go by what that oven thermometer says? I don't go by what the number is, and actually it's not quite 400, so I'm going to just put it up just a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, that's recipe number 1. Number 2, I promised you crispy potatoes, breakfast potatoes, but you can eat them for every meal. So there's a couple of secrets to crispy potatoes, and one of them is the tray. I don't mean for you guys to have to buy stuff. It's $33, but I'm telling you, if you do, you're going to be over the moon. Thank you, Jackie Shook. She bought these for me, one of my friends and students. These are called Crisp Ease Tray, CRISP-EASE. 2 of them are $33 from QVC, worth every penny. I use them all the time. They make the crisp, because we're not using oil, right? And preferably not using salt. These make the crispiest French fries and potatoes you can imagine. Now, you don't have these yet. You don't want to use this. You can use what I used on the bean burger. You can just use a baking sheet with a piece of parchment or a Silpat. But here's the thing. You're going to have to stir them around. With these, there's holes. You don't have to do anything. You just stick them in, and when they're done, they're done. That's what I love about them. I love anything that makes my life easier. So what I've done is, another secret to crispy potatoes is the size. So these are Yukon Gold organic, and I cut these up in advance. And I should have probably cut them even a little bit smaller, but the smaller you cut your potatoes, the crispier they're going to be, because then there's more surface area on all the various size. Whatever size you decide to cut your potatoes, I say this and then I didn't do it, try to get them uniform. Now, it doesn't matter how many, just as many as you can. Now I'm going to add 1 large red onion. Normally when you roast anything, you want everything to be the same size. That said, if vegetables roast at different speeds, then you want things to be different size. So for example, onion is going to cook a lot quicker, which is why I cut the onion a lot bigger than the potato. If you don't, what's going to happen is the onion is going to burn, it's going to turn black. But even when that happens, it's okay. You just don't eat it. It still has flavored the potatoes. Now, these can go in just like this. If you like seasoning, I love Benson's Table Tasty. It's my favorite salt-free seasoning. But I'm just going to put a little bit of dried parsley on, because I think that goes really well on potatoes. Costco is great, by the way, for getting these spices organic, very inexpensive. So just mush it around like that. Take your tray, put it on the tray. Now, I would normally roast these at a higher temperature, 450. But the burgers, I don't want those to burn, so they're just going to have to go in at this temperature. And this little one fits in a toaster oven, but it also fits in your regular oven. I just buy the 4 or 5 pound bag at Trader Joe's of the red potato or the Yukon Gold. And now that's going to go. So what's going to happen, because we're doing it at a lower temperature than I would like, it's just going to take a little bit longer. And how long you roast them is up to you. It's going to need at least 30 minutes, but probably a little bit longer. So just
what was the temperature?
I've got the oven at 400 for the burger, but I would have preferred 450 for the potato. It just would have made it crispier fast. So 2 recipes already in the oven. So let's get to number 3. We're going to be making Enlightened Portobello Mushroom Stroganoff. It's the 3rd variation of a recipe from my book on Processed, which is called Portobello Mushroom Stroganoff, which originally had tofu and tahini, which are healthy but very high fat. Then I converted the recipe to Portobello Mushroom Stroganoff Revisited, and I used cannellini beans instead of tofu and tahini. And then people were like, I can't eat beans. So watch what I did. It's very clever. So a lot of times people are using cauliflower and making purees, and it's wonderful. But the problem is it's a little bit too liquidy, and it's a little bit too cauliflowery, I guess. And so what I did is I buy the 12-ounce bag of cauliflower at Trader Joe's, which I live next door to. And if you don't have a 12-ounce bag, just invest $14 at just about any store and get a food scale. I've had this same food scale for 25 years. It cost $14 a long time ago. They're great. I like doing things by weight because I like things to be accurate. So in the Instant Pot, I have the rack, and I have just the water up to the rack, and I'm putting in this 12-ounce bag of cauliflower, and I am putting in 1 Yukon Gold potato that weighs about 4 ounces. I weighed it, but I kind of know now. I'll just cut it in 4ths because the potato would technically cook a little bit slower than the cauliflower. I'm just going to steam that up for, let's just say, I don't know, 5 minutes, 6 minutes while we do other things. You know what? Me and Gustavo went next door to buy some ginger. It cost us 12 cents, but I realized I left it in my fanny pack, so we're going to have to go get that before that recipe's done. So that recipe's getting started. Let's do another Instant Pot recipe as long as we're standing right here. The thing about Instant Pots is 1 is never enough, and I have 3. At one point I had 5, but I realized that was too many, so I gave a couple of them away. But I have 3, and 2 of them are always in use, and 1 is for travel. So now we're going to make sweet potato bisque. Now this recipe is inspired by Mary McDougall's broccoli bisque. But I made some changes, and I'll tell you what they are. Excuse me, Gustavo. I'm just going in the refrigerator to get a few more ingredients because we really are cooking live here. There we go. And let me, as long as there, I'm going to go get ginger. It's in this room.
Just a minute. Chef AJ went to get her
my ginger. There we go. See, I really did. I went to get the ginger. Okay, so Mary McDougall has a great recipe for broccoli bisque, which is broccoli and potatoes and some seasoning. She puts it in a pot, and then she cooks it with the immersion blender, which is fantastic. And when Dr. McDougall was the keynote speaker at Healthy Taste of LA in 2014, I actually showed her the way I did her recipe, which was very similar, but I did it in an Instant Pot because it's just easier. But I did add a few ingredients to her recipe, such as increasing the amount of dill and increasing the amount of mustard. I felt it needed a little bit more spice, adding garlic, which wasn't in her recipe. And then one day I went to make the recipe and there were no potatoes, which is very unusual for this house. So I used sweet potatoes, and guess what? I liked it even better. So now it's sweet potato bisque. If you don't have an Instant Pot, please get one. It'll change your life, or at least get any electric pressure cooker. If you go to www.instantpot.com, use AJ, you'll get $50 off. You could do this in a slow cooker, but it's going to take 6 to 8 hours. You could do it in a pot, but then you got to clean the pot. The Instant Pot has just this little insert, and it's fantastic. So in the pot, I have 6 cups of water because I didn't have time to make broth today. But remind me to show you my scrap bag in the freezer and tell you how to make broth. I've got 24 ounces or 1.5 pounds of organic broccoli. Trader Joe's happens to sell them in 12-ounce bags, so it's 2 bags. So you just put that in your, boy, this sure looks like a lot of broccoli.
Yeah.
And now we're going to put in 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes. I might just cut these in half just because I wonder if I weighed too much broccoli. That looks pretty darn full. So we're just going to put that in. I'm going to cut these. These are probably 2 pounds, so you can't have too many sweet potatoes. And there we go. We'll get it to fit. We'll push that broccoli down. I'm going to add 8 cloves of garlic. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. I wish you guys could. That's why I'm wearing the shirt I'm wearing, even though it's winter. For me, garlic, you can never have too much.
No.
Unless you're Nick and Kristen, then you can't have any, in which case, leave it out. So 8 cloves of garlic, an onion. I like red onion. And because my pressure cooker is getting pretty full, I'm going to give that a little cut just to get it to fit. We're going to make it work. It's going to cook down, don't you worry. There we go. And the seasonings are I put 2 tablespoons of Benson's Table Tasty. It's my favorite salt-free seasoning. You get it at www.bensons with an S, gourmet seasonings with an S.com. Use AJ for 10% off. 4 tablespoons of mustard. That's more than Mary's original recipe. I'm going to try out this new Dijon, but you can certainly use the salt-free by Westbury. And then 2 tablespoons of dill. And if you want, 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, but that goes in later when we add the plant milk. I'm going to tell you a funny story. When we made this at True North, they only had 2 kinds of non-dairy milk, unsweetened vanilla and soy milk. But because I'm allergic to soy and I want to be able to taste my food, there was no time to go to the store. And Chef Bravo said, oh, you can't put vanilla in there. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? We ended up putting in vanilla almond milk, and it was great. So if you don't try, you don't know, but you certainly don't have to. It's a sweet soup, and that's probably why it lent itself to the vanilla. So we're going to put the top on. You always put the top on at 11 o'clock. And we are going to, hey, Bailey, we're doing a show here. And we'll let it go for, I don't know, how about 8 minutes? 9 minutes, that's fine.
9 minutes.
But it doesn't matter, because you know what? If it doesn't cook, we just add some pressure. Lots of pressure, some time. And then we're going to blend it with the immersion blender, and it's going to be amazing. And it's really, really good over black rice. That beep just kind of says, is that what you want? Yep, that's what I want. Okay, what next? Okay, I've got my recipes up here.
While you look, I just want to remind everybody, if your screen freezes or something happens, remember to log off and log back on. That usually fixes the problem. Try to not have any programs running behind this program like Facebook or Skype or something like that. Just make sure you close everything so that you're not using your internet speed. Okay, here we go.
So the next recipe I want to get started, because it takes about 40 minutes to cook, it's just amazing. It's a muffin. And thank you, Sharon McCrae, who hosted me in Baltimore. She's a wellness coach, Eat Well, Stay Well, and she makes amazing food. And she's in UWL, Ultimate Weight Loss, because she just eats this way, even though she's naturally slender, because it's a really sane and delicious way to eat. So she made me these muffins, and they were fantastic. But the thing is you have to remember I was an executive pastry chef at a restaurant, and so I think about what regular people are going to eat, and the texture was a little bit gummy, and I'll explain why, and I'll explain how to fix it. The only negative thing about doing these webinars is I only have one oven, and I'm cooking 3 recipes that really require 3 different temperatures. So we're going to do our best, but at home, do them at the prescribed temperatures, because these really need to cook at 350, but we're probably going to have to put them in at 400 or wait a lot longer for the burger. So the great thing about these muffins is that they're from sweet potatoes, and that's where they're going to get their sweetness, and that's where they're going to just get their deliciousness. So I pre-cooked my sweet potatoes, and probably my favorite sweet potato is the Japanese sweet potato. They're the ones that are purplish on the outside, but they're white on the inside. And these are, oops, look, I found a piece of broccoli. But you know what? It's okay. Just open the pressure cooker, put it back in. Oh, there we go. No big deal. So how do I cook potatoes? Well, I cook a bunch of them. And what I do is I cook them at 400. Excuse me, 400, not 450.
400.
400, right. And the potatoes should be at 400. Actually, I think we're okay with that. Yeah, getting confused. I cook my potatoes at 450. That's where I roast my vegetables at. That's where I roast my potatoes. And what I do is I pretty much always buy organic. I poke a few holes, and I cook them for about 90 minutes. And they get nice and soft. And then to take the skin off, you wait till it cools, and it just peels right off. And I eat the skin anyway because it's organic, but I'm just going to use the 2 that I've already peeled. When I know I'm making this recipe, what I do is I just buy ones that I know are going to be 2 cups worth, because I can pretty much tell a cup is about the size of my hand. And so what I do is I have 2 roasted Japanese sweet potatoes. Now, could you use another potato? Probably I haven't. I think it would be really fun with the purple ones, the Stokes or the Hawaiian. They might be even sweeter, but it would also turn it purple. But these are my favorite. These are the sweetest. This is what I use, but feel free to experiment. 2 cups of cooked roasted sweet potatoes, or I guess it could be microwave, but it's going to be sweeter if you roast it. 2 large bananas, ripe. So this is another secret, because we're not using any dates in tonight's live cooking party by request of some people that for dates that are trigger food and people want to learn to make stuff delicious without it. So these are organic bananas. They're ripe. So this is perfect for baking or freezing for making ice cream. So we're going to throw that in this nice big bowl. There we go. And I know somebody had written in, they said they were allergic to bananas. So what I would do is substitute a cup of applesauce, because what the bananas are doing, they're making it moist. They're also making it sweet. So if you can't eat bananas, I haven't tried it, but that's my best guess. Okay, what else goes in there? Well, we have 3 cups of oats. I happen to use gluten-free oats. We're not going to grind the oats, and we'll talk about why in just a second. Hang on, I'm going to just quickly look at the recipe, because these are all new recipes, and I don't know them by heart. Okay. Oh, I need my spices. Yeah, here we go. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I like the roasted cinnamon, which you can get at Kroger or the store we have here called Ralph's. Regular cinnamon's fine. That smells really good. And a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. You know what I forgot? 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Excuse me. I just remembered. Yep, it was on the thing, but I forgot it. Luckily, I live here, so it's very easy to add that. There we go. Now, cardamom's one of those spices that not everybody likes, so if you don't like it, don't use it. Just put in the cinnamon and nutmeg. There we go. Now, some vanilla. Alcohol-free. I make my own vanilla. It's really funny that you can't get vanilla that is both alcohol-free and sugar-free. So if you get vanilla that's alcohol-free, it's made with glycerin, so it has sugar. And if you get one that's sugar-free, it has alcohol. And a True North, we're not allowed to use either. So I just make my own. It keeps about 3 weeks in the fridge. I'm going to tell you how to make it. You take 2 whole vanilla beans. You're going to need a high-powered blender. You blend it with a cup of water. And it's vanilla water, and it's fragrant, and it's good. And if you buy your vanilla beans in bulk, it actually becomes just as cost-effective as buying extract. So the last ingredient, sorry for looking at my recipe, but this is a new recipe to me. Actually, there's 2 more. So here's the thing. If you're an Ultimate Weight Loss, you're probably going to say, why is she using flour? We don't use flour in Ultimate Weight Loss. We don't grind our grains. That said, if you're doing this for Ultimate Weight Loss, if flour's a trigger for you, use 4 cups of oats. It will taste fine. I tested it yesterday on regular people, but it has that kind of gummy texture. It's not horrible, but it's not, you know, like for everybody.
Right.
So by using millet in conjunction with the oats, it gives it a more familiar texture. Now realize that these are going to be a very dense muffin. They're going to be hard. They're going to be very satiating. They're going to be a great travel snack, but they are not like a Panera muffin. They're not like the Costco light and flaky sugar oil flour muffin. This is food. It's starch. It's potato and millet and oats and banana and blueberry. It's food. So if you have like an idea of a blueberry muffin from, you know, a bakery, no, that's not what this is. So by using millet in conjunction with the oats, it takes away the gumminess of the oats. You can toast your millet first. I don't buy it ground. I buy the millet in bulk, and then I grind it. So basically what you're getting is 4 teaspoons of millet flour per recipe. If that's a problem for you, don't do it. But if you're making them for regular people for whom texture may be important, use the millet in conjunction with the oats. So put that in. And then again, I'm going to use the gloves. It's just easier for me to really get down and dirty and mix that stuff up.
So what is the name of this current recipe?
This, I call these blueberry mill oat. Get it like instead of millet, MILL-OAT, mill oat muffins. And yeah, they're amazing.
So
and
there's blueberries.
yeah, there's going to be blueberries, but see, here's the thing. The blueberries are going to make it colored, and so we're going to add the blueberries after we mix this up with our hands. So I don't know if you can see over here, Gustavo, but the cauliflower is almost ready. It's just, it's at 3 minutes now. So you just want to really mix it good, because that sweet potato, that's kind of, it's not hard, but it's, you know, you don't want to use your electric beater. So in other words, doing this kind of cooking, it's very good exercise for your arms. Because you're mixing it. It's starting to smell really, really good in here. So, you know, when you think of dessert, you know, I was an obese pastry chef, and I can tell you a lot about what makes a dessert. And traditionally, it's oil, flour, and sugar. and maybe some chocolate and other things. So, this is not, yes, I guess it is a dessert. And for some people, they were worried that this would trigger them. So we had a little reunion for some of the Ultimate Weight Loss people on Monday, and we gave them the muffins, and they all seemed to be okay with it because, again, you're eating a potato and a banana and oats is what you're eating.
Right.
In myself, and I'm really sensitive to desserts and sweets. Usually one is quite satisfactory. The most I've ever eaten in a day is 2. But I ran the calories and the nutrition. It was like they were like less than 200 a muffin, but they're food. And so what I'm thinking of these for is because I fly all the time, this is going to be a lot easier to take than some of the other foods. Now I keep these in the fridge because I don't know why. I'm just worried that if I don't, they might go bad or dry out. But my husband loves these. I actually burned a batch and he still loved them. Gustavo, can you show that red pan right there? Because it's sort of important to use the right equipment. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, even if we're doing ultimate weight loss recipes, and by the way, all these recipes are either completely compliant with ultimate weight loss or can be adapted as such, you can't do oil-free cooking or baking without the right pans. And I don't understand these people that just, the cooking spray is a scam because all it is pure fat because it says 0 calories, 0 fat, and 1/32nd of a spray. Well, can you do anything for 1/32nd of a second? I don't think so. But also, or then they use parchment paper, which again, we got to think about the environment. We can't just use parchment paper for every time we cook. So I gave you a link that you can get this pan at Walmart for like $8.34. You can get it at sometimes at Bed Bath & Beyond, definitely on Amazon. We have a store here called Michael's where you can often get a 50% coupon. They sell a lot of the Wilton stuff. So there we go. I have it fully incorporated. Now I'm going to add my blueberries. I'm going to get them. They're in the freezer. And so the thing about silicone is nothing sticks, and that's what's so great about it. If we have time, I'll open my drawer and I will show you that I have every possible shaped silicone pan there is, hearts and stars. So Trader Joe's has organic frozen blueberries in a 12-ounce bag, which is 2.5 cups. 2 cups is really ample, but what am I going to do with a 1/2 cup of blueberries? So I'm going to put it all in, and these are frozen, so keep them frozen until ready to use. The reason I'm using the wild blueberries is because they're smaller. The cauliflower's ready. And I think they're going to disperse better. And I think if we use the big old fat blueberries, they're going to sink to the bottom. Okay. So I know when Sharon made these for me, she put some fresh raspberries in, and I don't see why you couldn't do this. But again, this is dense. This is a dense batter. This is not light and fluffy. It's not what we're going for. We're going for hearty and substantial starch. The only thing that satisfies the hunger drive.
Satiety.
Yeah. Oh, that's the only thing. Potatoes especially. So here we go. Mixing them in. I just find the gloves are just so much easier than spoons. There we go. And this will make 12 muffins, and we're going to use a little scoop. It's about a 1/2 cup of batter per muffin, but we're going to make it even on all 12. Now, keep in mind, there's no baking powder, there's no baking soda, there's no salt. These are not going to rise. So don't expect that because they won't, because we're not using those. Because really, yes, you could argue that 1 cup of ground millet is flour, but there really isn't flour here. It's whole grains. So did you know that millet was birdseed, Gustavo?
I did not.
I was looking it up, and it's apparently that's when birds eat birdseed, and it does look like
it does
birdseed.
look like. Yeah.
So, and it's very, very nutritious. It's high in things. I think it was copper and magnesium. So I think it's an underused grain, and I think it actually might be a seed and not a grain. People are always eating the same thing, rice and oats, and now quinoa. Expand your grain repertoire. Eat some teff. Eat some amaranth. Eat some millet. Millet's delicious.
So what would happen if you actually put baking powder there?
I did it for the first time and nothing because these are so dense. How are they going to rise? So one of the things about baking powder and baking soda is you can get salt-free brands. They're more difficult to find. So the ones with salt I can't use anyway at True North. In general, baking powder with a P poofs, which means it makes things rise. Soda with an S spreads. So like when you make traditional Toll House chocolate chip cookies, they have baking soda, not baking powder. Right. Cakes generally have baking powder. So there we go. This looks pretty good to me. And now, I may as well just keep my mitts on. And where's my little, there we go. So it's like Raisin Bran, 2 scoops in each one. And then I can round the top myself to get it to look like a muffin. There we go. But I just saw my husband, Charles, do you like these?
Yeah, I like them.
He likes them.
He does.
And he doesn't need to eat as healthy as some of us, and he still really liked them. So thank you, Sharon McCrae, for introducing me to these. And, no dates, because I know a lot of people are like, don't want to have dates in their house. They're just too tempting, and I get it. But, having millet in your house shouldn't,
no, it shouldn't
hopefully won't drive you crazy, or bananas and blueberries. Again, I like the idea that this is food. So you could always just stick it in yourself as well.
So you're putting 2 scoops.
2 scoops, but now I'm trying to go fast, so I'm actually using my hands. So
Right.
1 large scoop. We had there was I live in an apartment building, and the cleaning crew was here the other day, and I love to test my food on people that they're not only not plant-based, but that don't eat like this at all. And the cleaning crew actually loved it.
Oh, Charles, they want to see you.
Uh-oh.
So
You should hold Bailey so they know we're all
here is Charles.
Hi, everybody.
He's real.
Thanks for coming to our kitchen.
Very good. So yeah, we're ready to try some of these.
Okay, so what I'm doing, guys, there's batter left, and so I'm just building it over the top like this. So then now that's what's making it look like the muffin, right? I'm just making. Do you guys remember? Was it a Seinfeld episode or one of the shows about the muffin top, where they were only selling the muffin tops? Or there was another episode where they said a muffin can be very filling. Well, these muffins can be very filling.
Oh,
and
yes.
they really are. And
They
I hope we're
are
ready in
dense.
time. So just building that up. We may have to move some of the potatoes out to get these in. So again, you don't really know when they're done because you can't use that test. And so I just know that 40 minutes is what's been working for me. If your oven is different, test it at 35. So what I was saying is, when you use those little papers, like those cupcake liners, because we're doing oil-free, it's going to stick. And It's almost impossible to get those papers off. So I don't recommend it. Please get one of these pans. The other thing is when you use, I had a nonstick.
This looks small.
Yeah, I had a nonstick thing, and it burned. I mean, it burned the whole pan. So, you need the right tools, guys, and it's not that expensive to get the stuff. And even the dehydrator, which, by the way, you don't need to make, well, you do need to make the crackers, but the recipe that the crackers came from are actual recipes, so you can still make them even if you don't bake them into crackers. I mean, a dehydrator is $40 at Costco and at Walmart. And, if that means that's what you have to do to get a cracker, because you know how hard it is to get a compliant cracker. It's like there isn't one, so I had to invent one. So there we go. They look beautiful. A few more blueberries in here on top. I like the small ones because they're cute. There we go. And now we're going to go check the oven, check the potatoes. Not making too much of a mess here, which is great. Okay, so I need the gloves. Doing good so far. Let's see what's going on in the oven. I'll turn the oven light on. There we go. Ooh, boy. Ooh, hot. Nice hot blast. Let's just check these burgers. They're doing good, but you don't want to flip them until at least a half an hour, if not longer, or they'll get all mush on you. So you can kind of see the potatoes are crisping up real nice. I am going to have to make a space in the oven for these muffins, so I'm just going to put this one in here. That's all I can do to get all these potatoes cooked. By the way, these crispy breakfast potatoes can be eaten anytime. They are traditionally, they look like the kind you sometimes see at breakfast, but we eat these for dinner. And Monday night, Nick and Kristen were in town, and we went to a movie, and they came for dinner, but I didn't have any food in the house. I had like 5 potatoes. So what I did is I made them like this on the tray, and then that was not enough, because me and Charles will split this for dinner easily. And by the way, you can do this with butternut squash on this Crispies tray. You can do this with sweet potatoes. You can do fries. You just can't do like liquidy things. So let's just see what's going on here. It's 6. Remind me. Okay, I gotta keep that oven on. So there we go there. And so what we did is we took those potatoes and we made a meal of it. So we had steamed up some kale in the pressure cooker, defrosted or a bag of organic roasted corn, opened up a can of beans. We had some pico de gallo, and we made these bowls with those potatoes. They were fantastic. All right, so let's see. We're going to release the pressure on the cauliflower mash or cauliflower potato thing. And then I guess what we'll do is actually I'm going to go to the tabbouleh next, the herbed quinoa tabbouleh. And Jackie Shook, I told you I was going to talk about you today because she's the one that got me to Crispies trays, but she's the one that inspired this next recipe. I love when, just like I took Mary McDougall's recipe and made it my own, Jackie did that with one of my recipes, and then I took her variation of my recipe and then made a new recipe. So I'm going to show you how we did that as soon as we release the pressure here. I had a pressure cooker for years until somebody told me you can actually do this. And I was like burning the top, putting it here and there and everywhere. So there we go. Oh, I unplugged the wrong one. Uh-oh. I was just going to unplug that, put it back in. Okay, so now I got to start again here, but don't worry about it. Oops. That's the good thing about the pressure cooker. So, all right. Maybe said what we said, 9 minutes. Okay, so we'll let this cool. It doesn't matter if it cools because we're going to be doing something there. So let's go to the herbed quinoa tabbouleh. Got to get stuff in the fridge. And we are going to go to town with this one. This one, again, I'll be using gloves. You're probably going to think that she uses gloves a lot. Well, you know, I do because they're awesome. Okay, so quinoa is technically a seed. We use it as a grain for both savory and sweet. And this is what 1 pound of quinoa looks like after it's cooked. And I'm using the white quinoa, but you certainly could have used any color you like.
She is using white quinoa, and that is 1 pound, right?
1 pound, and
Cooked.
I like to get the bags that already have been rinsed, just because I'm lazy. And I will tell you this though: if you don't want to get the rinsed quinoa, which you might want to,
talk that way.
oh, sorry. If you don't want to buy the pre-rinsed quinoa, what you could do is go to the paint store and for 99 cents buy a paint straining bag and rinse your quinoa in here. These are also great for when you defrost frozen spinach or kale, like to make my lasagna or enchilada strata. These are wonderful. Okay, so now we need another big bowl because we're starting to get our bowls a little bit dirty.
More bowls,
Oh,
yes.
you know what? Oh, I have a purple bowl, you guys. It matches my shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And if you must know that my favorite color is purple, so thank you, Aaron Hoffman, for the beautiful jewelry you gave me. I love purple. You should get me anything. All right, so we wanted to cook the quinoa in advance so it would be chilled because this is a chilled salad. Wouldn't have mattered what color, but
So what is this?
This is the herbed quinoa tabbouleh. Now it's not really tabbouleh because tabbouleh is cracked wheat. Generally, it's made, I believe, with wheat. It's an Arabian vegetarian dish, traditionally made of tomatoes, finely chopped parsley, mint, bulgur, which is wheat, and onion, and seasoned with olive oil, lemon juice, and salt. But the thing is I don't want to use oil, salt, and I don't want to use gluten, so I'm using quinoa. The only bad thing is this Charles is allergic to quinoa. It's so sad.
Oh.
And I know he is because I tricked him once. He said he was. I didn't think you could be allergic to quinoa, so I hid it in something. His throat closed. He almost died. So he's really allergic.
Okay.
But thank God he didn't. So, but I guess you could do it with another grain. But we do do gluten-free at both at True North and at Ultimate Weight Loss, so we don't get those gluteomorphines in our brain that trigger us to eat and overeat. So we've got this, and it's been chilled. I'm going to pour it in a bigger bowl. Now, one of the secrets to not eating salt is to eat flavor. Doesn't have to be salt. And when the thing is, when you stop using oil, you actually need less salt because oil coats the taste buds of your tongue, so you need more salt to taste it. So when you get rid of oil, you don't need as much salt, but you still want flavor. Fresh herbs, at least 2 ounces each of mint, Italian parsley, and scallions, at least. You can't have too many herbs as far as I'm concerned. This is called herbed quinoa tabbouleh. So I didn't measure. I know that I had at least 2 ounces. And what I did is to cut these herbs, I used what's called an herb scissors. A gift from Sharon McCrae. I love that you guys give me gifts, by the way. This was a gift from Sharon McCrae, and you can see that it made these nice little ribbons, and it was much easier. I think having great knife skills is overrated, especially because I had ruptured this tendon last year. I was in a brace for 6 months. I couldn't use a knife anyway, so these are great. Herb scissors, I think about $12 on Amazon. Tons of herbs. So now back to Jackie Shook. If you have my book Unprocessed, I have a great recipe for a quinoa salad with pistachios, currants, and pomegranate seeds. Well, if you're on Ultimate Weight Loss or trying to lose weight, dried fruit and nuts are not the greatest thing in the world. So she brought it to an Ultimate Weight Loss potluck without the nuts and without the currants, but pomegranate seeds are not always available. So she put in grapes, purple grapes, and it was amazing. And so I loved it. But again, I'm a texture person too. And I said, I love it, but there's no crunch because there's no nuts, and I don't want to use nuts. So then I went to cucumbers. And so what I have here is 3 very large cucumbers, which I peeled, seeded, and chopped. And you can see I've chopped them really, really finely. And I'm going to show you the machine I used to chop them. And a pound, or actually, it's actually 1.25 pounds of purple grapes, which I quartered. If I wasn't so lazy, I probably would have cut them more in eighths because I like when the textures, when the things are the same size, but it's a lot of work prepping for this. So here we go. And we pour this in. And now the dressing, which is just lime juice. Now, if you have fresh limes, I encourage you to use the zest. I used the zest for a different recipe that I was making, and I just ran out of fresh limes, but there's nothing wrong with using organic lime juice. We did a seminar in Maryland recently, an ultimate weight loss seminar, and we had a potluck afterwards, and I brought this recipe, and people loved it. So you want to start with 1 cup of lime juice. You can go as much as 2 cups. I usually go about 1.5 cups, but again, this is going to be your preference. And there's no right or wrong there. You want, you'll taste it and you'll know. But I know that I've made this, and I make this just about every week. And it's you could actually eat it as dessert. It's that good. But what I like to do is get a big old bowl of greens, like salad greens, and put this on my salad as my good stuff, because we encourage you to eat a lot of salads. Dr. Jay Gordon, the well-known celebrity vegan pediatrician out here, always says, eat a salad every day the size of your head. And
so, would celery, someone says, would celery work for adding to the crunch?
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. I think it would. I think that's a great idea. Try it, or try some celery and some cucumber. I think it's important if you use cucumber, you do peel them and seed them, because when people do get some indigestion from cucumber, it's usually the seeds. And I think the seeds are kind of nasty personally, but you can see how pretty this is starting to look. It's so fresh, and it reminds me of tabbouleh, like that I used to get it when I'd go to like falafel type restaurants, but it doesn't have the wheat, it doesn't have the gluten, and it does last. I mean, I know it lasts at least 5 days, because and this makes a huge amount, by the way. Like, my friend Sarah is getting half of it tomorrow, and Melanie's going to get the other half, what we don't eat tonight, because Charles being allergic, I try not to keep quinoa in the house. I don't want to accidentally poison him, since I actually almost did it on purpose once, Of course, he does have a hefty life insurance policy, so I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you and I can finally be together, Gustavo.
That's right.
And thank you, Gustavo. He is a wonderful webinar host. We couldn't do this without him or Charles, because, I don't even text. So when you guys write me, like, my registration didn't go through, I'm like, oh, sorry. There we go. So I'm just really into mixing things up. Your hands get very cold. We should probably have somebody taste this now, but not Charles, obviously.
Well, I would suffer.
So you want to get it in a pretty bowl. I'm going to get a pretty bowl out, because, obviously if I was going to a potluck, I would bring my Tupperware, but otherwise, if I'm serving it to guests, you want your food to be pretty, especially if it's healthy, especially if it's plant-based. And when you give people that don't eat healthy food, don't tell them it's healthy. A year later, tell them. But people will eat healthy food if it's good. That is the bottom line. So there we have it. I know regular people, again, I don't know what else to call the rest of the people, but I do test my recipes on regular people, and this is one that was very successful. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look for a pretty bowl. Yep, here's one. And this is actually a wedding present. One of the few that hasn't broken in the last 20 years. Wow. And then we'll just transfer it.
Very nice.
But again, lots of herbs, guys.
Yes,
when you
colorful.
Just people think, well, you don't eat salt, you don't have flavor. You need flavor, but you can get it. There we go.
You can get it in other ways.
Oh, and I've also, just for fun, you can't mess up this salad. You really can't. You can use lime juice, lemon juice if you don't have lime juice. I think lime juice is a little sweeter. I've put apples in here. I've put cherry tomatoes in here. But the real things you need for sure is the lime juice or the citrus juice from the lemon. You need the quinoa, and you need the herbs. The mint, lots of parsley. I prefer the Italian, and the scallions, and then whatever fruit you want. And it's really the wide open. So.
I know you can't keep up, guys, with the recipes, but remember that in about 24 hours you will get a link so that you all can watch this again for 2 weeks. So you can pause it, you can rewind it. You can write it down. Chef AJ is traveling a lot. It's going to be really hard to sit down, write them down, put them in a document, email them to all of you.
These are going to go in my book. So here we go. If Gustavo is hungry, I don't know if Gustavo can eat and webinar at the same time.
Well, I don't know.
But here we go.
I will try.
So let me go. Let me get him a spoon. He can be the recipe tester, fork, and let me put this in the fridge while you do that.
All right. Well, let's see here. I will be the tester of this salad. Let's see here. A little bit of everything, and
It's good. Good. Huh? It's really good. Refreshing, isn't it?
Very refreshing. There's such a. It's very rich.
Yeah.
In all the flavors, the combination of the herbs, and the grapes, I think, really makes it.
I like using the purple grapes rather than the green. I think they're sweeter and they're fun.
I'm so sorry you guys are not here.
All right, so what I need to do is I need to get these vegetables out of the pressure cooker because I have to use it to make the almost instant apple pie rice pudding, which we're going to give you a variation to make it completely UWL and another variation for the kids and the regular people. Right now, I'm just transferring the cooked cauliflower and Yukon Gold potato into the blender, and we're going to blend this.
So the burgers are cooking for how long?
The burgers are supposed to cook for almost an hour, and we want to test them at about, maybe 30, 35 minutes. We're going to flip them. But I find that if you cook them about 40, 45 minutes on one side, they flip a lot better. But they do take about an hour to cook, which is why I got them in as soon as possible.
Right. She put them there first so that they can be at least an hour in the oven. And what are you putting in the blender right now?
So what I'm doing is I am putting in the cooked cauliflower.
This is the cooked
Cauliflower and the potato for the Enlightened Portobello mushroom. Stroganoff. I'm just
and
draining
you're taking the
water out. I can always add the water. It's got lots of nutrients, but I don't want the sauce too runny. What I'm really doing is I need this to make another recipe. So we're going to use this in a little bit. That's what I'm doing. And I always save the water. I either drink it or I might need it, so I don't want to throw it away just now. But I need the pressure cooker because we're going to make rice pudding. And this rice pudding can be a dessert, but it can also be a breakfast, depending on how sweet you make it. So I rinse this out. So now what we're going to do is make rice pudding.
Next is the rice pudding.
Yeah, and I say it's almost instant because it really is. And so really the secret here, you guys should see how messy the kitchen is down there. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get any help cleaning.
We are not going to show that part.
So what I have now is 4 cups of cooked rice. So
is this brown rice?
This is brown rice, and this is actually short grain. What I did is I bought the organic short grain that they had at Whole Foods. And the reason is even though my favorite rice is from where Gustavo is from, it's called Tex-Mati. For rice pudding, I like the stickier one because I want the pudding to be sticky. So I cook rice all the time. It's one of my favorite grains, red, black, wild, brown. And then since I know I'm going to be making rice pudding, again, I take 4 cups. I'll show you how I freeze it. This one has been already taken out of the freezer. So 4 cups of rice pudding. 4 cups of rice. And you could probably use any kind of rice, but I can't vouch for how sticky. Like red rice to me doesn't get very sticky. Right. So let me get a couple of cups of plant milk.
Perhaps for another cooking demo, because I know that people are having a hard time, keeping up. I think you had an idea of doing short little videos.
Short ones, like every recipe in it by itself,
right? And
then having that just first or second time we've done.
So we will try different things for you, and that's why these webinars are sometimes free or very inexpensive.
So I'm just using boxed milk, but it's so easy to make your own. Take a tablespoon of hemp seeds, 1 cup of water, make hemp milk. Almond butter, it's very easy to make your own, but we had this boxed, it's unsweetened. 2 cups of non-dairy milk. This happens to be vanilla. So there we go, that goes in there. It's great use of leftover brown rice. So I'm looking for my seasoning.
Right there?
Oh yeah, I put my seasoning in it. Now here's where it gets borderline for people on Ultimate Weight Loss Program. There's a cup of raisins. I like yellow raisins better. They're more traditional for rice pudding. I grew up eating rice pudding at the Delicatessen with my grandparents, Nate and Al's in Beverly Hills. It always had yellow raisins. you get about the equivalent of maybe a tablespoon per serving, but if dried fruit is a trigger for you, don't use it. You know, dried fruit is 1,300 calories a pound as opposed to the grapes that it came from, which is 200 calories a pound. You don't have to use it. It will not be as sweet. You might want to use this more as like a breakfasty type cereal, but this really does make a traditional rice pudding. It's only 1 cup. And then I have 2 teaspoons of roasted cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. I'm going to put that in as well. And then now the apples. I did not prep the apples in advance because I didn't want them to go brown and I didn't want to have to put lemon juice on them, which would make them even less sweet. My tablespoon of alcohol-free homemade vanilla. Just going to add that. You could also add vanilla powder, which is just ground up vanilla beans. So we're going to put that in. We actually have one of these made, so I can show you what that's like. And now we need 4 cups of apples.
4 cups of
Whoa,
apples.
Oopsie, oopsie. I need more space. I need a bigger kitchen. So this is a great tool. The way I got the cucumbers so small was I used this Vidalia Chop Wizard. It doesn't have to be this brand, but I like the one with the very small grates because it's just, I like when things are small and they disperse better. And so what I'm going to do is usually 1 apple is about 1 cup, but luckily this has measurements on the side. And so what I do is I just cut these, and again, you know, it doesn't matter what size, just try to make it uniform, and then you push it down. I know it's going to make a lot of noise. Sorry about that. I'm going to cut that in half because it's so big. But this is what I did to cut the cucumbers, and that's why it was so much like tabbouleh, this the quinoa salad, because of the fact that the cucumbers were chopped so finely. I'm going to be heading to Mexico pretty soon to teach at Rancho La Puerta again, and they have chefs, when they make their salsa, that's all, I mean, they actually cut everything that small by hand. I don't know how they do it. That's a little difficult. There we go. And again, you could grate the apple. You could use your food processor. These are organic Gala, I think. My favorite apple, if you could find it where you live, is called the Envy apple. Here in LA, we only can get it at a store called Gelson's. It really is like the crispest apple and the sweetest I've ever tried. Oh. And I have some in the fridge I can show you, but for pudding, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm going to eat an apple, sorry.
You really are getting your exercise today.
It's just a lot of work, and it is really hot in here, guys. It's not hot so much in LA, but I got the oven on, and it's on really high. And I had the dehydrator on because I was making you guys crackers all day. There we go. This is hard work. I need a sous chef. There we go. So what's cool about this Vidalia Chop Wizard is you can look on the side, and I don't know if you can see it, but it says 2 cups. I am starting to sweat. Crazy. The sweet potato bisque is almost ready, which is great. So I think we are probably going to get this done close to the time we promised, maybe a little bit longer, but you know, we're doing good, I think. And let's see. If you're not already in Ultimate Weight Loss and you have any questions, you know, check us out. It's a wonderful supportive program. We've got wonderful people that will help you every step of the way, that are just getting the health and the body that they deserve, eating this way, eating these delicious recipes. You know, I eat very simply, but I understand that people want recipes and, you know, more fancy stuff for people. Which is why I'm doing this. I'm happy just eating, you know, sweet potatoes as a meal, and I do, you know, big ones though, big ones with my vegetables, and it's kind of what I do.
Yeah, and you're putting 4 apples.
Well, yeah, about 4 apples, because each apple is about a cup.
Oh, okay.
And this is one thing I didn't prep in advance because I didn't want them to brown. Oh, by the way, the potatoes, I did cut them up in advance, and I kept them in water. Oh. Now, depending on who you talk to, some people think it makes it crispy, or some people think it makes it less crispy. I've read that when you soak your potatoes, you decrease the risk of acrylamide. I don't know. I did it because I didn't have, I mean, you didn't want to see me chopping potatoes all night, just like you probably are already bored watching me do the apple. So that's why I did the potatoes in advance. And then sometimes I'll do it the day before if I'm going to make them for the breakfast meal. And that's fine. You just drain them and, you know, rinse them, and you know, it's not a big deal. It's and then you got your potatoes in the morning. We probably should check those pretty soon, but I want to get this in. And pressure cooker is great for cooking rice. Sorry about that. It's hard. You don't need a rice cooker anymore. I still have my rice cooker because sometimes when we have our in-person, ultimate weight. I hope John Pierre's watching this so you can see I'm getting my workout. When we have our in-person ultimate weight loss program, I need both pressure cookers and I still need a rice cooker because there's too many people to feed.
Almost there. Almost got it. There you go.
I hope you guys can't see my beads of sweat, or should they say no sweat. But you can see I love these little tiny cubes. It disperses better. And again, if you don't want to go to the trouble, just cut it however you want. There we go. So that is it. You know, the hard part was doing the apple. I have used pear in here. It's been great. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to plug this back in. And now I say it's almost instant because it's only 5 minutes. Now, you could eat this hot.
5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes,
wow.
that's it. You could eat this hot and it would be great as a breakfast, but I prefer it chilled because it has a pudding texture, and I'm going to show you what it looks like chilled right now.
Yes, and I already tried it.
If you went on our Facebook page, so it gets really, it gets really firm. I like to put it like in a pretty glass. This is like, I think it's called a martini glass, but you can see how firm it is. Look, don't try this at home. But I love the texture, and I just think it's delicious. Okay, so next up, what is now? Oh, the sweet potato bisque is almost ready. But in the meantime, what I think I'll do is I'll start sauteing the onion, since I didn't get to show you how to do that. Oh, we forgot this.
Oh, well.
Well,
okay.
What should we do?
I'll eat it.
Oh, thank you. Wow, it fell on his computer. I'm going to open the oven, guys, because I want to check on those burgers and make sure you have a good spatula for flipping. Because remember, we're cooking 3 things at the same temperature. Oh, look at these! Oh, look at these potatoes, guys. Beautiful. You don't have to move them around, but I'm just moving around to show you how they're crisping up nicely. Remember, these don't rise. These are just going to cook as they are. Let's still check the burgers. So, what you can do...
I have to tell them that they look dark, so don't be afraid. They're not burned.
No, they're not burned. The
burn.
black rice makes them dark.
Right.
Good. So when you can flip them easily, then you flip them. When you can't flip them easily, cook them more on that one side, because you don't want them to fall apart. There we go. And remember, I didn't even chill these. Chilling them sometimes is what helps them not fall apart.
That's right.
But I didn't, because I make sure that they cook long enough on one side. Go. Whoop. Just smush it back in together. It's so hot, you guys. Woohoo. Okay, there we go. So now that I flip these will probably be ready in, I don't know, 10 minutes. But I like them well done. I love things. I love things crispy and practically burned. You know, that's just me. Even when I ate meat, which was for only the first 17 years, and it wasn't even that often, the only way I could eat it was if it was the end piece. Burned, it was burned beyond recognition. I always had to fight my grandfather because there was only 2 end pieces, you know. But yeah, you know, I was like always like, well done. So there we go. We got 2 more to flip. I'm hot, you guys. Come on, there we go. This is why you need a sill pad. I do not think parchment paper works as good.
No, I don't think so.
There we go. So beautiful, beautiful. All right, oopsie. Okay. So everything is going to get done, even though we're working with
everything
different
is really
temperatures. So let's put this back in. And again, these potatoes would have been done at a higher temperature, but we're not going to worry about it. So what we're going to do is in 1 minute...
In 1 minute,
the sweet potato bisque is going to be ready. So what we're going to do is release the pressure. You can probably see that my hair's starting to smush because I'm sweating a little bit here because we are cooking for real.
Yes.
So what's great about the pressure cooker is if I was busy, it just turns to a slow cooker, but I want to release the pressure because I want to finish the recipe. So don't be scared. There we go. I'm going to go get my mustard. You know what? Maybe I'll try a new mustard. But I want to get the old mustard to show you what that brand looks
I
like.
hope you're all enjoying the home cooking here, and that it's not in a fancy studio with all the fancy cameras and lights, and you would have to pay $1,000 to watch the webinar. And we're just doing it here from a regular kitchen.
And my apartment is about 1,000 square feet. This is not a very big kitchen. This is where we actually film the Chef in the Dietitian, and it's really actually quite small, and I still get everything done. So the more content in the pressure cooker, the longer it takes to be released. Hence, it's like taking a little bit of time, but we're going to get that released, and then I'm going to plug in the immersion blender. If you were going to do this in a pot, you could do the same thing by just probably cooking it, I'm guessing, for about 20 minutes. So where did that immersion blender go? Anybody know? Oh, here it is. This is an immersion blender or a stick blender. You can get them about $30 at Costco, Bed Bath & Beyond. You could use your blender, but it's a little easier, I think, to do this because it can expand in the blender. So we're just going to plug that in. I have some leftover black rice. And the black rice, I love it in this soup. They went nuts for this soup at True North. I don't know why, but this was one of the favorite things I made. I had the privilege of working there anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks a year, but always the last 2 weeks, which is called the Holiday Cooking Extravaganza. It's already half sold, so join me December 23rd to January 2nd, this year to next year. Best time of the holidays you can possibly have. So it's starting to slow down. So if you want to use the salt-free mustard, this is the Westbury Stone Ground Mustard. But I kind of want to try this new mustard that I found. It's a Dijon, and it just looked really good to me. It's very, very low sodium, but I love the clean ingredients: water, mustard seeds, organic apple cider vinegar. I have the weirdest food allergy. It's one of the most difficult ones, especially when you eat other people's food or travel. I'm allergic to black pepper. And so a lot of mustards don't have to disclose what it is. And often I can get very, very sick eating that. And so I have to call the company and find out, sure enough, there's black pepper. So it smells pretty good, actually. So,
yeah,
all right. Good. So we're going to add 4 tablespoons of that as soon as this pressure is done releasing, which will be in a second. Come on. You can't hurry, soup. Oh, no, you just have to wait. Soup don't come easy. It's a game of give and take. You got to check out on my Facebook page this tribute to Dr. Esselstyn. I love making up songs. All right, so what I'm going to do is check that the sweet potato was cooked. And if it isn't, oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Nothing to cut up. Beautiful. Perfect. And so now I'm going to add my 4 cups of non-dairy milk. And I'm using the vanilla because it worked good at True North. Why wouldn't it work good here? And what's great is because you're adding either room temperature or cold, the soup isn't quite as hot, so you can eat it right away.
Right.
And this does make a lot of soup, you guys, a lot. Remember, I have to show you about my scrap bag. Now I'm going to add my...
Is this soup that you can freeze or not?
I have not frozen this one, but I don't see why you couldn't. This is one I just haven't. 2 tablespoons of Benson's Table Tasty, or your favorite salt-free seasoning, 2 tablespoons of dry dill. This is optional, but good. 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and then 4 tablespoons of your favorite mustard. There we go. This will probably be this is so good. Mustard, I love mustard. So does my friend Lindsay Mason. She loves mustard. I ran into her at Ralph's. That's so cool when you live in LA and you can run into people. Be very careful with an immersion blender that when this button is on, it is all the way to the bottom, or you can burn yourself. Oh, it's not fresh dill, but the dill smells amazing. And so these sweet potatoes are nice and cooked and soft. Now, I have used asparagus in here instead of broccoli, and it's been fantastic. Oh. You really can't mess this soup up, you know. There we go. This makes a lot, you guys. This is probably about 20 cups of soup. This is one of my very favorite soups. See how easy that was? That's what I love about the Instant Pot. It just cooks everything so easily. And it's so easy to clean because it's just one piece. There we go. This is what I'm having for dinner with the leftover black rice. I love this soup. Oh,
You are gonna love this. I know you will.
Yes,
Oh, it's so thick and delicious.
And, yeah, very creamy.
And it's so creamy.
Yeah.
You don't need butter. You don't need flour or milk to make a roux. You just need potatoes. Potatoes are a great thickener. If I could only live on one food, it would be sweet potatoes.
Yeah, that would be.
And people have. You Google the KON potato study. You know, the longest lived people in the world, the Okinawans. In Japan, they eat 70% of their calories from sweet potatoes. Now, what's great about a pressure cooker is when you're done, it just turns itself off.
I don't think they can hear you when this is on.
Sorry, I'm saying all this stuff and you can't hear me. So. Just make sure that when you lift it up, you don't push the button or you will splatter and burn.
Yeah.
This is tiring. I don't usually make 10 recipes in a row like this.
This is a recipe marathon.
It's a marathon, that's
Right.
right. Okay, I think I got it all. I'm just feeling around the bottom, make sure there's not a piece of...
And this is the sweet potato
This is
bisque.
sweet potato bisque. It is done. It's beautiful. It's delicious. We're just going to put it aside for right now and go on to the next recipe. So we've got 3 more to go. Okay, and we'll get them done. 2 of them are super duper easy. All right, so now, okay, so let's show you how to saute without oil. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the pan on high. Oh, did something happen there?
No.
Okay, so I have my chopped onion, and I bought it already in a bag, 10 ounces, because I cry a lot when I do onion. So I'm just heating the pan up. It's on high. I'm comfortable using nonstick. I have had this pan 20 years. It hasn't chipped. It's a great Pampered Chef pan. If you want to use stainless steel, go ahead. So what I'm doing is I'm going to steam fry. I'm dry sauteing, and if it starts to like burn or sizzle, I can add a little water, a tablespoon at a time, but you absolutely don't need oil to saute. You just don't. You can get caramelized onions that way.
Why do people use oil to saute?
You know,
what does it add?
What does it add? That is a great question. And you know, I went to culinary school, and at that time I was eating oil, and I didn't ask why. So, they use it because I guess because traditionally they've used it.
Right.
I know from a perspective of that, you know, people like fat because it's calorically dense and it stimulates more dopamine, and you know, the more fat that a restaurant uses, the more you'll like the food and the more you'll eat. But why do they do it? Maybe that's a good question, because we didn't used to eat oil. We're not historically oil eaters. Oil used to be a valuable prize in the Olympic Games to adorn the body. It wasn't put in the mouth, it was put on the body. But historically, I don't know why they use oil, where that came from. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the sauce for the Enlightened Portobello mushroom while I'm cooking this onion. So I've got my 12 ounces of cooked cauliflower and my 4 ounces of Yukon Gold. And I'm going to put that in the blender. Sorry, I don't have this memorized because I haven't made this for a couple of weeks. So I've got 4 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice and zest and 3 dates right here. And I know it gets a couple of cloves of garlic, if anybody knows where that little white plastic thing of garlic is.
I saw it, but
Okay,
now I don't know where it is.
Let's see if I put it back. All right.
I can hear the onions cooking.
Okay, St. Anthony,
And
St. Anthony,
smelling
please
them.
come around. For what is lost must now be found. We got to find the garlic, you guys. All right, because that goes in the sauce. All right, we're going to keep looking as I do the onion. All right. Oh, the fresh ginger, we got that. Let's see how much this weighs, actually. Perfect, a ½ ounce. I just know that when I go to the store, Gustavo went with me, this was 12 cents. I look for a piece the size of my thumb, and that's always a ½ ounce. So do we know where the garlic is, Charles?
Maybe he can look around.
Okay.
All right, we usually when I can't find something, I just say, St. Anthony, please come around. For what is lost must now be found, because we really want to make this right. And we do have already peeled garlic, so maybe you could kind of look on the floor, or, oh boy. Anybody watching this webinar notice where I put the garlic?
You'll get a free
You
prize.
get a prize. Yes.
Well, I found it. It was underneath everything. Perfect. Okay. 2 cloves of garlic. I buy peeled garlic. It's just so much easier. And if we need any water, the rice pudding's almost ready, you guys. I forgot to show you that it keeps great in a little piece of you can see we've already dug into it, but this is Sharon McRae's kids love this. So we're just going to keep going. You see the pan won't burn. You don't need oil. And then if it starts to burn, which it won't, we'll add a little water. So let me just double check this recipe. Yes, so we got the ginger. All right. So now we're going to just blend it. This is going to be our sauce. All right, that's perfect. Now what I wanted to show you is yesterday I made up, without the sauce, I just did the cauliflower and the potato. And you can see you've got this. This is going to be amazing for you to make things out of, for you to make compliant, rich, creamy dressings. Just the cauliflower, it's not that thick. And just potato would be mashed potatoes. But the combination of 3/4 cauliflower and 1/4 Yukon Gold, which you can keep the skin on because it blends easily. When you start making your non-dairy cheese sauces, instead of using nuts, you won't need as much nutritional yeast. Do this. Fettuccine Alfredo over zoodles. This is going to be, I'm telling you, this is going to be your go-to base for salad dressings, for dips. It's brilliant. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one, but I'm going to do something really good with it. And if I need more sauce, I can add it. So we just want to keep this cooking. You can see it's starting to brown a little bit. Yes, indeedy. Now, I think I've got to take the muffins out. If I remember correctly, that was 12 plus 25. So in a few minutes, you can see I want my onion brown because I am trying to brown.
Right.
You see, you don't need oil. If you get a good pan, you just can cook it.
Right.
And I'm cooking it on high heat. The next thing I'm going to add is the mushrooms. And I'm going to saute, and that's going to probably take me a little bit of time. But you see, it's almost done.
And
Oh,
how much mushroom?
I have 2 pounds, and instead of Portobello, I'm using baby Bella. And the reason is because, see, I'm lazy, and I can cut it with the egg slicer that I got at the 99-cent store. So these are Bellas, but they're baby Bellas. And this is 2 pounds. This is 1 pound, not 2 pounds.
1 pound.
Right here. And the only other thing is going to be a teaspoon of oregano. Very simple recipe. If you wanted to do the revisited version, instead of going through the trouble of the cauliflower and the potato, just use a can, 14.5 ounce or 15 ounces of rinsed and drained cannellini beans. That comes out delicious as well. But look at this. See? This is just like a caramelized onion, isn't it?
Right.
It's beautiful.
Right.
All right. And I didn't even need to add any water. I love this pan. I'm never getting rid of it. I mean, people say, oh, you can't use nonstick, you can't use microwave. Look, guys, people aren't fat and sick from using the wrong pan or from using a microwave. It's from not eating the right food. So there we go. Beautiful as can be. It's perfectly brown. Now I'm going to add the...
So mushrooms is a lot of it water,
a lot
right?
of water, yeah. I'm not going to probably have to add any water, but I am going to add a teaspoon of oregano right now, dried oregano. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to just saute that. And when it's done, I'm going to add my sauce. And actually, the high-powered blender heated it up, but what I can do is the pan is going to heat the sauce up. And I like to serve this over both steamed kale and rice, and we have both of those already prepared. Now, while we cook that up, I'm going to add just a drop of water, just make sure it doesn't burn at this point. Not too much. You can hear that nice sizzle. Oh, yeah. Again, how do you not use oil? You don't use it. You could also use vegetable broth for sauteing. There we go. So these will cook down, and just cooking mushroom and onion like this is delicious over everything. And the oregano smells super nice. This was one of the first recipes. I became vegan in 1977 at the age of 17. And the tofu version of this was one of the very first recipes I ever made. I gave my first formal dinner party when I was 14 years old. And I have loved cooking since I was 7 years old. And there we go, a little bit more water. And I'm going to check the oven for the muffins at this point, because I think they're ready. Normally, you don't cook 3 things like that together. the different temperatures, but you have to err on the thing that needs the most time. So let's double check. I want to get my other glove out. There we go. Yeah, these are great. I like them crispy.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna leave that there. Oh, look at these potatoes. Beautiful. And even a few pieces of onion burned, so what? I'm gonna leave those in though. I'm just gonna, it won't stick, but I'm just moving them around now because I actually overfilled this pan because remember I took it out of the other pan. And I'm taking these muffins out. They are a little burned, but I did not cook them at the right temperature. So you don't think they're burned on top? Whoops, this top came off. I wasn't even paying attention to when I put them in. You know what? You think they need more? Okay. Gustavo says everything needs more. Every time I open the oven, I just sweat like crazy. So you can see that I did add a little water, and the mushrooms also gave up their water. So it's going to take a few minutes for this actually to cook down because I want all the water released. The rice pudding is ready now. I can release that pressure and show you what it looks like. And I've got 2 more recipes, so I almost got done in time. We got off to a late start, but I've got 2 more recipes for you. And let me get the last set in here. We've got the crackers. Now,
Crackers are next, and is that the end of it?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're almost done, guys. And we're going to finish up that. Okay. So, 2 crackers, a savory, and a sweet. So what we're going to do is we're going to first make what's called risotto. Get it? It's a clever word for oat. R-I-S, like it's risotto, is it made from rice? So I'm doing 4 cups of water. It could be broth. And I should have had it measured in advance. And what I'm going to do is everything. Oh, you can smell that rice pudding, can't you? The cardamom, wow, when you release the pressure. So what I'm going to do is in a pot, I'm going to put it on high, 4 cups of water, 2 cups of instant organic steel-cut oats. It has to be instant, and I'll explain a little bit about this in a minute. I want to get everything in, though, and I'll show you the label I'm using. So we've got 4 cups of water or no sodium or low sodium vegetable broth, 2 cups of instant steel-cut oats. I believe I have the package here to show you. Here we go. Quick cooking.
Yeah.
Because this risotto takes like 5 minutes to make. The cracker is going to be made from the risotto, but even if you don't want a cracker or don't have a dehydrator, this itself is a recipe. It's a recipe for savory oats, and it's absolutely delicious. I'll tell you how the recipe came to be in a minute, but I want to get everything cooking. So the 4 cups of water or broth, 2 cups of quick cooking steel-cut oats. What I have here is 3 ounces of sun-dried tomatoes, the kind without oil, and I cut them up really, really fine. And I have 1 ounce of dried mushrooms, which I crunched up as well. So there we go. That goes in. And we need the garlic as soon as I can find it again. Sometimes I have forgotten to put the garlic in, and it's still fine. 1 clove or more to taste. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a boil. I'm going to put 2 cloves in because these
2 cloves here.
Generally,
garlic.
I'm going to tell you how this recipe came to be in 1 second. And we're just going to bring this to a boil. And when it's done, we're going to stir in the basil. Fresh basil. I don't like to have the basil be cooked. Now, so I had the pleasure of presenting at the last 2 Forks Over Knives Engine 2 conferences in both Cleveland and Los Angeles this past year. And I competed in an Iron Chef with Darshana Thacker, Ann and Jane Esselstyn, and Chef Del Sroof. And one of the ingredients in one of the Iron Chefs was instant oats, not the steel cup, but instant oats. But there was no package, and I had never eaten or worked with instant oats, and I didn't know how to cook them. So I just kind of winged it, and I just put it in with some broth, and I had these ingredients. I had mushrooms, I had tomatoes and garlic, and what ended up was this creamy, delicious risotto-like dish. And risotto is great. It's made from rice, but it can take an hour to make, and in 5 minutes, I had risotto. So I started making this as a savory breakfast because in Ultimate Weight Loss, we teach you to start your day in the savory way, preferably with vegetables, but don't eat fruit first thing in the morning or fruit and oats. And so this is a great savory breakfast or side dish. So I made this in my breakfast class at True North, and it made too much because you're eating all day there at the holiday extravaganza. And Jerry, one of the guests, said, well, could you bake it like Chef Bravo does for his French toast sticks? And I said, well, you know, I don't know, but I can't use the oven now. They're doing stuff. And so what I did is I put it in the dehydrator. And then the next day, well, not even the next day, 12 hours later, we had the most amazing, delicious cracker. Compliant, SOS free, unbelievably delicious. And Ichak, who's a regular there, was dying for a cracker for the last 5 years, and now he has one. And it's a savory cracker. You could use it as a raw pizza crust. It's absolutely delicious. Now, I didn't score this. You could while it's cooking, but it took less than 12 hours, and this is really, really crispy. So it's worth getting a dehydrator just to get the cracker, because most crackers are made with wheat or flour, and even the ones that are not, like the raw ones that are made from, but they're high in fat. They're made from seeds usually, and they have a lot of salt. If you want to come look, this is pretty much getting done. These mushrooms, I like to cook them a little bit more. And so this cracker thing is just a game changer, and it's great for travel, and it's absolutely delicious. And this part will only take 5 minutes to make. I know it says to cover it. Now, this is not in the original recipe, guys. This is just me, so don't worry about this. I haven't eaten salt really my whole life. My parents already had heart disease before I was born. We never had salt, but I really have been strict about it since August 1st, 2008. So I do need to eat some kelp and dulse because otherwise I don't get any iodine. And I really was iodine deficient. And so I love whole dulse. I get it from Maine Coast Sea Vegetable. This is smoked dulse. And I like to throw it in there. This is not for everybody. Some people do not like the taste of sea vegetables. I love dulse. This is a smoky one. It adds a salty component. This is for me, not for everybody. You know, a cup, a half a cup, whatever. I just like doing that. And the basil is going to go in after, because I don't like to cook fresh herbs. It's going to be stirred in. And this is almost already cooked. The mushroom thing, you guys, I said 90 minutes? We're almost getting done in time. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water. I like my mushrooms really, really well done. Oh, by the way, so with the crispy breakfast potatoes, what I do for ketchup is, if you go to my book on process, there's a recipe for quick sun-dried marinara. And Wendy Solganic of Healthy Girls Kitchen, notice that if you don't put the soap water in for the sun-dried tomatoes and don't put the basil in, you have ketchup, and it's delicious. So there we go there. Here we go here. So then when this cools, all I do is I put it on a dehydrator sheet that's covered with a Teflex. Get one for you. I don't want to burn my hands, so I wait for it to be cooled. So this will fit one sheet. The thinner you spread it, the quicker the cracker will cook. So you spread it on this, and then a couple hours later, you touch it. When it's dry to the touch, you flip it over, take the Teflex, and now you're dehydrating it on the screen. I'm not a raw foodist. I don't know if I believe all that killing the enzymes, so I just crank it up to the highest setting, and then I have crackers. So let me just show you the sweet cracker. And some of you know this recipe because you've seen me do demonstrations. And basically what it is, it's my overnight muesli recipe. And it's very, very quick and easy to make. And I'm going to make it for you in 1 second. So once we get this just the way we want it, sorry, I know I'm skipping around, but I like my mushrooms nice and brown. Hey, that rhymed. Okay, so overnight muesli. When I travel, I take 1 bag for every day that I'm away, of a half a cup of gluten-free oats, tablespoon of chia seeds, and half a teaspoon or more of cinnamon or roasted cinnamon. Every day I'm away, I take 1 of these. And then when I get to my hotel or my destination, I either have little boxes of plant milk or I just use water, and I have a little bowl that I travel with. Let me get the mushrooms out of this. And then what I do is I make my muesli, and then it sets on the counter or in the fridge overnight, and then I have cereal the next day. So any liquid is fine. The original recipe called for 2 tablespoons of unsweetened apple juice and 2 tablespoons of non-dairy plant milk. It can be all of one or all of the other or just water. It doesn't matter. I normally would put a couple tablespoons of currants in, but I just forgot to buy them, so it's no biggie. Let me just get my liquid, which I had already measured out in the fridge. But when I travel, I don't use the vanilla because I don't, it's hard to travel with liquids. So you put that in there.
What is that?
That is the liquid, which was 2 tablespoons of the unsweetened apple juice and 2 tablespoons of the unsweetened almond milk. Now we're going to need another apple, but you know what? I'm getting a little busy now, so I'll let this set up, and then I'll add my apple in a second. Once that gets thick, then that's also going to be my cracker. And just to show you, these I broke up. And again, this is a sweet, not super sweet. I call these Applejack crackers. These are great travel snacks. These are great hiking snacks, especially when you put the currants in. They're a little bit good, huh? Yeah. And you can also break this up and then have granola. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, can't I just do it in the oven? No. Pay the $40, get a dehydrator. Oven, the lowest an oven goes is 200. The highest a dehydrator goes is like 115. So it's completely different. You can't leave your house with the oven on, but you can leave your house with the dehydrator on. So now, once I get the last bit of the mushroom, I hope my husband is hungry. And Gustavo, they worked very hard. We're almost done, you guys. There we go. And so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sauce on this. You could eat this right now. This is good over rice, over over steamed greens. This is absolutely just delicious, and all it is onion, oregano, and mushrooms. So now what I'm going to do, and we can show them the rice pudding, is I'm going to take my nice thick sauce.
Tell us one more time what you put in the sauce. The
sauce was my cauli potato mixture, 12 ounces of steamed cauliflower with a 4-ounce Yukon Gold. I cooked it in the pressure cooker for I think it was 6 minutes. I added, how many tablespoons of lemon juice was it? It was 4 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice plus the zest, 2 cloves of garlic, 3/4 of an ounce of pitted date, which were 3 small Deglet Nord dates, and a 1/2 ounce piece of ginger. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over the mushrooms, and I'm going to heat this up. And then I'm going to show you how I plate it in just a second. So this is perfect. And it's just the perfect amount. Because, see, when I did the beans, I needed 1.5 cups. And this exactly came out. But look at this. I mean, come on. Can you believe that? Look how thick and creamy it is. It's cauliflower. And, of course, a potato. So we got this one ready, too, you guys. And, by the way, this is just delicious on its own. This is just a delicious savory oat dish or a side dish. So here we have that. Oh, this is going to be amazing. So we're just heating this up. This is already cooked. I'm just trying to get the sauce heated up. And this is stroganoff. Wow. So everything's done. The rice pudding's done. If you want to come take a look at it over here. This was done quite a while ago, by the way. And you can see that the apples are nice and cooked. We're just going to give it a nice stir. And again, this is good hot, like as a breakfast. But again, if you want that real traditional rice pudding, texture, I'm going to turn this off, then chill it first. And this is great. Okay, so mix that up when it gets a little cooler in here. The only thing I have to do is add my apple. I think everything here is probably done. So we get to eat. Yeah, I would say this is done. I'm going to turn the oven actually off now. And these potatoes are ready. See how crispy. I don't know if you can see how crispy they are, but they're very crispy. Crunchy, so you can see how crispy it is. Crispy, crispy potatoes. Burgers are done. The great. We'll just turn the oven off. The only thing I have left to do is show you how to grow. Oh, so this is done. Like I'm going to stir in. I'm going to stir in my basil. About an ounce, 1/2 ounce to an ounce as soon as this completely gets thickened. And I need 1 apple. And I'm not going to use that funny little machine that you saw me press so hard. Where's my little glove? Please make sure, guys, twice. You'd think I would have learned the first time, but twice I cut the tip of my thumb off. Oh. So I got this mandolin glove now. And it's fantastic. Now, where did I put my muesli? Oh, here it is. So here we go. We've got the muesli. I'm going to turn this off. Whoa! Here we go. We've got our little mandolin, and I'm going to grate the apple over the top into a julienne. And this is great to travel with this because you can almost always get an apple or a banana, even at Starbucks, even at the airport. I do this in my hotel room. Even if they didn't have a fridge, it's still okay at room temperature overnight. Just grate the apple in. And what's great about this is you can eat it like now, or you can let it thicken, eat it later. You can dehydrate it. You can bake it into cookies. The way I figured this recipe out was when I made this at a presentation at Torrance Memorial Hospital for 400 people, which you can find that presentation online. It's very entertaining. They didn't give big enough servings, and so I went home with about 200 servings of muesli. And I knew it would last a few days, but not that long.
Right.
And that's when I got the idea to dehydrate it and make these Applejack crackers, which are just terrific. And again, like I'm not using the currants just because I just forgot, but they're fine without it, but even sweeter with it. And there we go. And I don't see why you couldn't use a pear if you wanted to. There we go. I'm just gonna mix that up. And I do the same thing. I put it on the dehydrator once it's fully incorporated, and then dehydrate it. And it takes less than 12 hours. Once it's dry to the touch, you flip it. And if you want to score it, so there we go. This is done. So I'm going to remove this off the heat, and I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and then I'm going to stir in my fresh basil. But this is just delicious on its own. The savory risotto with sun-dried tomatoes. So how are we going to plate this this dish? So what we're going to do is what I like to do is I like to take a nice big bed of steamed kale.
That's steamed
Yeah,
kale.
I cooked this for 5 minutes. Actually, that bowl's prettier. I cooked it for 5 minutes in the pressure cooker. Drain out the little bit of water that's left. So we'll start with a thing of kale.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add some rice. I had already cooked some black rice, so we're going to add a little bit of rice.
I have never tried black
Oh,
rice.
it's delicious.
Ah.
So put the rice in because you need that. You get to try this, actually. I mean, this probably should have been heated. And then our sauce, our Portobello sauce, over the top. Fit for a king. Look at that. Oh, baby, look at that. OMG.
Beautiful.
And then hit it with a little bit of fresh parsley. Well, actually, this is not fresh, but I mean, you get the idea. This is incredible. Or as they say in French, incroyable. So there you have it. 10 recipes in 90 minutes or a little bit more. I can't wait to eat this. This is going to be delicious. What else can I show them?
Well, wonderful.
Crackers.
Right.
So thank you guys so much for watching. We do our best. You know, we're new at this webinar stuff too, but we really appreciate you signing up on such short notice. We're going to do more of these. We're going to have themes. So, you know, just happy cooking. And, you know, I really believe you can have the health and the body you deserve. I'm Chef AJ. This is my webinar host and good friend, Dr. Gustavo Tolosa. Love from Charles and Bailey. And eat healthy.
Thank you for being with us, and send us comments. If you want to email me, it's better because then I can get all the emails and we're not emailing 3 or 4 people at the same time. My email is gustavo@gustavotolosa.com. And like Chef AJ said, we really want to bring you these experiences that you can see live. So, oh, there we go. So we will continue working on them and making them available and affordable for you. And here is the, let's see, I'm gonna type something. Bailey, the cutest dog. I am typing my email just in case you don't want it. Good evening, and we'll see you in the next one. We will announce it soon. I think it's going to be something about a sweet tooth for Valentine.
Right.
So,
bye,
goodbye.
everybody.
Ciao. Hasta luego.